While many apple growers in Tasmania have been forced to the wall in recent years because of modern market demands, the preservation of old varieties is helping one business expand. Almost 60 years ago, a group of parents who wanted to improve the lives of their disabled children established what's now known as Oak Tasmania. Oak's Tahoon Fields Nursery in the Huon Valley is one of Australia's largest suppliers of apple trees and has been so successful it's about to expand and take on new ventures.
Just move on to those big ones.
A bit hard in winter sometimes, is it?
Oh, a little bit. When the cold winds get through.
Come on off, let's see how we go.
Stephen Lang has been working at Oak for almost 18 years. He's one of 24 adults with a disability and 8 support staff working at Oak's Tahoon Fields Nursery in the Huon Valley.
We're a registered training organisation, so we already do things like certificate training in horticulture, and what we do is we give each of the people with disabilities that we employ a certificate training, so they do Certificate 1 and Certificate 2. Almost anything that any able-bodied person can do, a person with a disability with training can do, and with support. So I think our philosophy is that no one is incapable of something. There's always some capacity for people to do something with training.
What's it like being the only girl here amongst all these blokes?
Boring! Absolutely boring.
Do you keep them in line?
Oh yeah!
Oak has recently taken over the lease of the state government's 28-hectare Grove Research Station on land adjacent to their existing nursery. You've been here for 20 years, you'd be a bit of an old hand now, wouldn't you?
Yep, yep. I've done grafting, budding, things like that, tape tying, yeah, guiding tractors, yeah, spraying, yep.
And that's all because you've done the certificates 1 and 2 of horticulture?
Yep.
So do you like working outdoors?
Yep.
What is it about it that you like?
Fresh air, in the sun, yeah, with working with people.
There's plenty of work to be done.
We've actually got to try and get back to understand what we've actually got on this site, because when we took it over from the department, it hadn't really been it had been let go, to be honest. It really had been not developed to its full potential, and so what we've actually got is some funding through Horticultural Australia Limited to redevelop what we've got, to replant, to make sure that we're actually taking a proper historical record of what we've actually got.
Despite the challenges, after more than 40 years of operating their nursery in the Huon Valley, John Payton says Oak needed to expand.
Tahoon Fields has just been growing and growing since those early days. Currently, I think it's about 200,000 apple trees we sold last year, so a fairly significant sale of apple trees and other palm fruit trees.
It's opening up markets in the United States and Europe and exploring the possibility of exporting to China. When the lease for the Grove Research Station came up, Oak jumped at the chance.
What we've actually taken on is probably the best collection of fruit in the world, one of the very best heritage collections in the world. We're very lucky to have taken on, I think it's 750 different varieties of apples, pears, and other varieties, and it's really one of the most significant collections in Australia, and it has international importance.
Many of the varieties no longer appear on supermarket shelves.
Product these days tends to be apples that are stored longer, and the storing longer often, but not always, means that the flavour is lost.
Tahoon Fields hopes to change that. After being a wholesale-only nursery, Oak will branch out into the retail sector in a bid to cash in on the growing trend towards old-fashioned fruits and vegetables.
Exploring the grafting of heritage apples onto dwarfing rootstock. So what we anticipate we might be able to do is make available heritage apples in pots. And so, you could have on your patio, you could have you almost have an orchard, a mini orchard on your patio with a variety of heritage apples.
The collection will also continue to grow.
I think in 50 years' time, if we didn't incorporate the new varieties, it'd become, rather than a heritage, it might be an antique collection.
They've negotiated the right to import new varieties from Japan and, despite the row over fire blight, also hope to crack the New Zealand market.
We look at our New Zealand colleagues with great, I guess, fear and in trepidation in some ways, but it's an opportunity rather than necessarily a problem, because it's an opportunity for us to get into their market as well. New Zealanders are trying to get new varieties of apple trees into the Australian market as well. I think there's a new variety called Lady in Red. That's a pink lady variety that they're very keen to get into Australia.
Would you be keen to get hold of that tree?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's actually a good variety, I understand. It's in competition to our own pink lady varieties, but I think anything that's a sale is worth pursuing.
DNA testing will help preserve the integrity of existing varieties and authenticate new ones.
Not many places do DNA testing for fruit. It's a fairly new science, I believe, and we're using an agency in Canberra to do our DNA testing. But it's pretty critical when you've got new varieties of fruit to be able to ensure and demonstrate that they are unique. One of the ways, other than Plant Breeders' Rights process, is through DNA testing, and it gives that surety that this is ours. It gives this is the true to type DNA tested variety.
Tasmania's dominant role as an exporter of the fruit may be in the past, but Mr Payton says, as custodians of the largest known collection of heritage trees, it could lead to new commercial opportunities.
Look, I think in some ways it's almost a resurgence of the apple industry in Tasmania. There is a very large and growing cider industry happening, and I think you've got to look at those sort of opportunities to explore different sorts of things to do with apples. I mean, what we're hoping to do here, in part, is to develop the heritage collection to its fullest capacity, and that may well be accessing further cider varieties to grow and to expand into nurseries. It may be for us to even expand further and develop nurseries that are growing specifically cider apples.